So welcome everybody. Day 10th of this lovely book, Change Your Questions, Change Your Life. We start where we left yesterday. Blame keeps us stuck in the past. Responsibility paves the way, paves the path for a better future. So that choice, whether you want to be in that blame game or that choice, whether you want to be on that responsibility game, that decides whether you are going to be stuck in your past and stop and continue that blame game, continue that complaining, or whatever has happened and it's the past part of what has happened. But right now you take that responsibility of what is best for you and for what is it that you can do in order for you to learn that experience. You take that road of responsibility that will be the foundation for a good future or a better future. Paralyzing, what did he mean by that? I felt an urge to get up, stretch, and walk around. I took a break, went to the bathroom, splashed some cold water on my face, and I returned. And after I returned, Joseph said, "Hey, remind me what you said about Charles the other day." Ah, back to Charles. Now I knew I was on solid ground. It would be easy to prove to Joseph how good judgment served me in this case. That my feeling about Charles were not just the product of judger attitudes. I told you, if it weren't for Charles, I wouldn't be in this mess. I said, that's obvious. He's playing a win-lose game. You've had to be blind not to see that. Without replying, Joseph directed me to turn to my workbook and find the pages labeled Learner oblique Judger chart, mindsets and relationships. I studied it for a moment, checking out the two columns that listed key characteristics of learner and judger. The content of those two columns was very different. It hit me immediately how one way of thinking would take me down the judger path, while the other would draw me up to the learner territory. This chart guides you to become much better observers of ourselves, Joseph said. It lists learners and judger qualities and characteristics to help us discern where we are at any moment. It's invaluable for helping us strengthen our observer self and shift from judger to learner. Let's use it to do some personal research. Think about Charles. Then read off any word or phrases that leap to your attention. Reactive and automatic. Know it all. Listening for agreement or disagreement. Self-righteous. I stopped. Everything I was reading was in the judge's mindset column. My jaw tightened. Then I turned to the learner mindset column. Only one phrase caught my eye: values not knowing. I was puzzled. So this is the judger and the learner chart. So we'll spend some time here, and I want everybody to participate here. So judger, when you talk about, we're going to be analyzing the judger as well as the learner on two aspects as per this chart. One is going to be the aspect of the mindset. What does the judger mindset say? And what is it that is there on the mindset of the learner? And we will also be looking at the judger and the learner characteristics with respect to relationships. So number one, the mindset of a judger says he is always judgmental of self and others. Whereas the flip side, a learner is accepting of self and others. And it's very important, and it's clearly mentioned, the self always comes first. So if you accept yourself first, chances are that you will be able to accept others as well. But if you do not accept yourself, you'll have a difficult time accepting others. The second trait of a judger mindset is it is always reactive and automative. मतलब उसने बोला ही है झट झट चल. So there is no processing, there is no listening happening for the purpose of gaining knowledge. The only listening happening to that judger at that time is to react. इसने बोल दिया, बात पकड़ ली और रख ली, जैसे उन्होंने खत्म किया, अच्छा. Didn't even give time to see what is it that I can do. Whereas the learner on the opposite side is responsive, he is responding to that and thoughtful. So whatever information is coming, the learner is listening, processing it, and then responding, as opposite a judger who is instant, automatic, and reactive. Key trait for trait number 3 for a judger mindset is blame. Always looking who's to blame. Kisne galti ki? Whereas the flip side of the learner is I take responsibility. What is it that we can do right now to rectify it? What is it that we can do right now to learn from this situation? Judger, trait number 4, knows it all. मुझे सब पता है, तुम मुझे ना सिखा. हैं? ऐसे नहीं बाल सफेद हुए और मेरे बाल झड़ गए. सब पता. Whereas the learner, on the flip side, values not knowing. Because even your whatever knowledge you have, there is still and will always be more for you to learn. So the time you come with an attitude that I know it all, you stop your growth, you stop your learning for whatever that could have come to you for you to make you grow further. So the learner values that not knowing, but the judger is adamant about that I know it all. Trait number 5, a judger is always inflexible and rigid. On the flip side, the learner is flexible and adaptive. So the judger will not like to change anything that has happened. No, this cannot be changed. No, this cannot be changed. It has to be like that. It has to be. There is no flexibility. Whereas a learner is always flexible, open to new challenges, open to new ideas, and adaptive to what is it that can serve us in this situation. Trait of the judger, either oblique or thinking. या ये या वो, my way or the highway. Whereas the learner is both and thinking, कि दोनों को लेके चलते हैं. हाईवे माई वे ठीक है, मिडिल वे क्या है? The judger always possesses a mindset of self-righteousness. Again, coming from the fact I know it all, and इतना नहीं है that I know it all. I'm right also. Hello, as in I know it all तो है ही है, but I'm right. As the learner, on the other side, is always inquisitive. What else is possible? Are there anything else also that we can try? So he's inquisitive and does not have that self-righteousness of the judger. Another trait of the judger, personal perspective only. मैंने ये बोल दिया, मैंने ये सोच लिया, done it. A judger is like that authoritative boss who does not listen. And I'm not saying that he may be successful, but from the point of view of classification of a judger and a learner, he's not open because he's only looking at his personal perspective without any, consideration of others' ideas. Whereas the learner on the flip side will consider the perspective of others. So he's the person who will go and discuss it with everybody, take their opinions, take their points, and then try to figure out what is the best way out. A judger, now this is a very typical one. A judger will always defend his assumptions. But a learner on the flip side will start questioning his assumptions. Am I assuming that this is there? Is my assumption right? A judger feels or behaves in the manner that his assumptions are not less than facts. That's the beauty of the judge there. Another trait of judger is possibilities seen as limited. A limited perspective for all that is possible. So the possibilities as per a judger are always limited. ज़्यादा है नहीं कुछ करने. But the possibilities of a learner are unlimited. And especially when we talk about these possibilities, I want you all to visualize the possibilities that are available to a 4 or a 5-year-old child in any room where we feel we don't have anything to do. They will come up with the weirdest thing and start playing with it or making it their toy. So their possibilities of that learner child is unlimited. The last trait of judge's mindset, as mentioned in the book, primary mood is protective. Hello, we always have their guards on, always have their barriers strongly on, always protecting themselves. Whereas the learner, the primary mood is he's always curious to learn, to grow, to evolve, to understand, to help. Now, the best part is we all have both mindsets, and we also have the power to choose where we operate from in any moment. So there will be a time where you will be operating from your self-righteousness. But there will be a time where you will also be operating and taking that choice of being inquisitive of what are the options available. So whenever you are in this frame of mind, just remember this chart and see, get the idea to check whether I'm in that judger mode or whether I'm in that learner mode with the mindset that is playing in you. And the judges and the learner also have a very different perspective when it comes to relationships. So for a judger, it is always about a win-lose relationship. That I should win, and not just that I should win, the other should also lose. Whereas the learner would always look for a win-win situation or a win-win relationship. A judger is the one who will debate a lot in relationships, whereas a learner would be the one who would be into dialogues. A judger will always have this feeling of being separate from others, whereas a learner will always come from the premise of feeling that connection with the others along with that connection with the self. The judges, the trait of the judges, he fears the differences. And that is one basic way, a basic point where he feels, the others are not my own, because he fears, yaar, ye to bada different hai. Whereas the learner on the other side values the differences, because everybody is not the same. That is why we all have different fingerprints. And that's the beauty of life, that everybody is different and everybody's point of view is different. So a judge's feedback is perceived as a rejection. So whenever you come across a person who's not open for feedback, he will always try to reject that feedback, no matter what the feedback is or how the feedback is given. Whereas a learner on the other side always will consider a feedback worthwhile no matter what, because he knows that it's for his benefit. So judger always listens for differences, right, wrong, agree, disagree. Whereas a learner will always listen for commonalities, facts, and understand. Key criteria, one of the most important criteria in a judges is he will seek to attack or defend. Whereas a learner would always seek to resolve and create. And the beauty, we all relate from both mindsets, and we have the power to choose how we relate in any moment. So I will be posting this chart. Please look at this chart 3-4 times in the course of this coming week. So you will be able to actually check what are the different mindsets that a judger has, and how is it that you can actually change those mindsets by switching to learner questions. I'm not sure what you mean by values not knowing, I said. It's like when someone is doing research, Joseph explained, you want to discover something new, which is impossible if you are attached to the conviction that you already know all the answers. Valuing not knowing is the basis of learning and all creativity and innovation. It's a state of mind that opens to all kind of new possibilities and even hoping you might be surprised. Instead of defending old opinions or positions or answers, your goal is to look with fresh eyes. I like to think of this as rational humility, a maturity we develop by admitting that it's impossible to ever have all the answers. Rational humility, I liked that. That's how it felt when I was doing technological research. Beyond that, especially with relationships, I felt like I was in a foreign territory. Suddenly, I was confused. Was it Charles or me who was reactive and automatic? Was it Charles or me who was the know it all? Who was listening for agreement or disagreement? Who was self righteous? Who was the big judge here? Before I could recover from my confusion, Joseph hit me with a new question. What do you think it costs you to spend so much time in the judge's pit? Costs me, I said quietly, looking at Joseph and then at the floor. His question had hit me like thunder. I don't even want to think about the cost to the company for my judge's habits. First of all, I'm getting a pretty good salary, but it's money down a black hole in terms of what I'm producing. On top of that, I'm starting to suspect that I've created a no win situation that's brought my whole team down. I dread asking. I dread going to meetings with those people and the trickle down to other departments we work with. Well, this isn't a pretty picture. Joseph was nodding, apparently satisfied with my insights. This is real progress, he told me. You are doing great, man. Great? What are you talking about? This is a disaster. Throw me a lifeline, would you? How do I get out of this? I could drag you out, Joseph said, but I'm going to give you something even more valuable: tools to get yourself out. I am a big believer in the teach them to fish philosophy. Now, I want you to bring to mind a time when you were in a learner in a work situation. Got the picture? Recall as vividly as you can what the experience was like. If you have trouble remembering, take a look at the learner's side of the chart. Right away, I recalled my best work at KB approach. So before we go with that approach, it's very important to mention here, it's very important as a coach or as a teacher to teach you how to fish rather than catch the fish and give it to you. Because this spoon feeding will not be there for you for a lifetime. Because till the time the teacher is available, till the time the coach is available, till the time your mentor is available, he will be able to give you that fish because he is good at it. But as a student, what's more important is not go for that fish that somebody else has given it to you, but go for that skill set of how to fish yourself. Because you are going to be living your life 24/7, and not necessarily your coach, your mentor is going to be with you. Not necessarily क्या होता ही नहीं है. But that one person who's going to be with you 24/7, no matter what happens to the world, is you. So what's more important is for you to learn how to fish rather than go for spoon feeding and taking somebody else's fish. उस टाइम बहुत अच्छा लगेगा. You will get that result, you will get that satisfaction. But till how long? So till the time you do not learn how to fish yourself, how to resolve your situations yourself, तब तक आप आगे progress नहीं कर पाओगे. So it's very important to go with the philosophy of learning how to fish yourself, and also when you're trying to help others is teaching them how to fish rather than feeding them with the fish all the time. Because the whole concept of creation works here. So if it's the fish I have caught, that connectedness, that feeling, that triumph of winning is going to be there attached with that. But whereas उस जो किसी ने दिए उसमें खाली आपको स्वाद आएगा, that winning attitude या winning achievement नहीं आएगी. Right away, I recalled my best work at KB Corp, how everything flowed, how I woke up every morning looking forward to going to work. My productivity was high, so was everybody else's. People even said they enjoyed working with me, though the truth is, I spent a lot of time alone. I could feel myself smiling at that memory. My work life then couldn't have been any more different than a nightmare I was experiencing now. I just had a thought, I said. At KB, I didn't have to deal with people much except to come up with innovative answers to their technological questions. Under those circumstances, it wasn't such a challenge to stay in learner. I see what you mean, Joseph said. Applying those same principles to your present leadership role might be a challenge. Humans aren't machines. That's why my wife keeps telling me, I said. That's what my wife keeps telling me, I said. We both chuckled. So let me see if I understand you correctly, Joseph said. With technology problems, your learner curiosity is natural and easy. You're really good at that. You have specific questions that help you step outside yourself to make objective observations and assess what's going on. In those situations, you understand that whatever you come up with is neither good nor bad. It's simply information. Thomas Edison was famous for telling people how it took thousands of failures to invent the electric light bulb, and that each failure contributed to that final successful solution. I'm giving you new tools to take advantage of what you already know how to do. When you can recognize judger, distinguish it from learner, and switch to learner whenever you choose, you are well on your way to taking charge of your life at work and at home. Suddenly, something clicked for me. I turned my attention to the choice map as Joseph spoke and focused on the switching lane. Switching is what makes it possible to change, I explained. Switching is where the action is. Joseph nodded emphatically. Empathetically, yes, you got it, he proclaimed. The ability to switch literally puts you in charge of change. Being able to non judgmentally observe your own judger and then asking a switching question, well, that's about the most powerful and courageous thing anybody can do for themselves. It's the operational heart of change, what many people call self management. Actually, combining the willingness and ability to switch leads not only to change, it also makes us able to sustain change because we are observing and asking ourselves learner questions moment by moment by moment. I repeat, this is the most powerful line right now. Combining the willingness and ability, two key traits here, willingness and ability to switch leads not only to change, it also makes us able to sustain change because we are observing and asking learner questions moment by moment by moment. Switching mindsets can literally give us new eyes and new ears. Switching is what makes it possible to change. Switching is where the action is. Joseph's enthusiasm was contagious. I was eager to learn more, especially the parts about change and sustaining change and how that could help my results at work. But a glance at the clock told me it was time to end today's meeting. And that's the end of the chapter.